On my last video about a flashlight.
I didn't see it. Okay, well, maybe it was about a knife. Who gives a shit? Kyle Miller asserted, without sources, that somehow expensive purple knives are basically a sinister sign of being part of a secret knife cult. Now, I don't like sources anyway. I don't trust them. But we all know knives are the ultimate purple knives. But also, you need half a rent check if you live in Missouri, or an eighth of a rent check if you live in the government parts of Virginia to buy one. Now, this applies to renters only because homeowners wouldn't buy a $400 purple knife. But Gear Best, being the sugar daddies or mamas or whatever's they are, somehow knew all of this and didn't take no for an answer. They don't carry Wies, but they carry other purple knives that are titanium and like $100 with air quotes D2 steel. So what I'm trying to say is the purple knives find a way even if you refuse at first. And while we ponder when exactly I'll buy a $400 purple knife, while Tactical Center Elite says, hey, isn't that a clone of the Dmitry Sienkiewicz full custom leaf pattern knife? Let's look at the overall length and weight. They also make these in gray and blue. Handle size and grip area. You know what? Maybe I have a blue and not the purple one. Spine thickness and handle thickness. It is a very purple blue though. I don't know, maybe it's violet. And the tallness height. You know, the side length when it's closed like this. And the flipper protrusion. So this knife looks to be a copy of the Sienkiewicz custom knife that only 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 20 were made. I searched for about half an hour and couldn't find viable versions other than the Chinese ones. The main difference between the 2 or 3 available in these are this one has no spine jimping and the colors are different. Also, quote, D2 steel. So let's look at the drop point D2 steel blade first. My experience and some stuff I've read online is that D2 is one of the more rust or discolorization prone of the stainless steels. Cedric Aneda has done some rust tests on D2, and this one Broa's Razorback blade I used for some steak, to eat one night, became discolored after a bit, which is a terrible story. The blade is sharp as shit out the box, and the satin finished blade is long and comes to a nice point. The blade pivots on a ball bearing system and is deployed via a flipper stud or tab. I'm the only one that calls it a stud. And as an American, I find it my right to stay willfully ignorant about whatever I choose. Deployment is very consistent and fluid, as smooth as a Lion Steel clone, or maybe even a real Lion Steel. The tab ain't got no jimping, which is nice because you don't need it, and the blade is locked into place by a frame lock, or a Reeve integral lock if you'd like to call it by its proper name, and by its proper developer, Chris Reeve's ex-wife. If this were made in America, she'd get 25 cents. You're like, where'd you get that information? Oh, sorry, man, the source document is classified. The frame lock has a hardened steel insert as to not damage the beautiful titanium frame lock. It covers about this much of the tang, and the handle is made from 2 pieces of 3D milled titanium. It may look like each side is made from several layered pieces, but they ain't. As we all know, titanium can be as strong as steel in theory, but weighs more than aluminum. However, when it's milled out like you see here, it saves a lot of weight. A 3 3/4 inch blade with weight well under 4 ounces is actually pretty impressive, because it's a fairly large knife. The handle grip area fits my hands very well, kind of like they made it for me. It might crowd the digits of hands larger than mine, but I still have a bit of room to spare. As far as hotspots go, nothing jumps out whilst cutting cardboard of my new power tools. These only cost slightly more than the knife. One is even assembled in the USA and the other in Hungary. I often wonder about where along the chain of raw materials and knife makers the hustle lies. I feel like the steel dudes are the ones making the money. Now, I have no evidence to back any of this up, but it's something I think about, more than I should. The handle has an open back design with some pins and a backspacer. All to save weight, I assume. The knife comes in its own case with a skull bead sculpture and a pivot adjustment tool, so you don't even have to hit up Budcade to make your knife extremely fashionable and tactical. By the way, a skull bead makes anything tactical, even your purple knife, or your Chris Reeve. Blade retention when closed is fairly good, but you do have to fling it real hard to get it to open. Like real hard, like you've been dranking hard. The pocket clip. Molded weird shaped pocket clips either just suck like my Benchmade 765 or are just like this one. This one sometimes has problems going in the pocket smoothly, but once you get the proper pocket clip bend down, it's alright. It ain't deep carry, however it sticks out much less than it might look because of the way the pocket clip is mounted on the handle and the angle of it. About 1/3 of an inch sticks out if it's nestled in the corner of your pocket. If I had my way, every pocket clip would be a spoon style like a Spyderco, even if you made the knife uglier. That's why I review knives and don't make them. Alright, are we at comparison time yet? First up, the TC4. Sometimes it's called a Vespa, not to be confused with the scooter, on places like DHgate or wherever fine Chinese knockoffs are sold. I think Vespa is a brand name. I have no idea if any of these companies paid for the right to make the knives like this. However, since there's only 2 or 3 examples in the world, I would guess they traced their computer screens. Next up, the Chris Reeve Sebenza 21, a nice integral folder. About 5 times the cost, and I feel generally the same about both of these knives. They're both good. The Reeve deploys much slower, and it's a much more dubious financial decision to purchase one of those. Now the Paramilitary 2. This one is from a company called Spyderco's. It's good and considered one of the finest examples of an everyday carry knife. It deploys fast, is reliable, has a nice lock, a nice handle, and is also purple. If you had to buy one knife here, it would be this one. Alright, how about the full-size Benchmade Crooked River? It's bigger and clippier and heavier. It looks like a knife also. It's too heavy for me to regularly pocket carry though. Deployment be good. You might think the TC4 here has a slick handle, but the leaf pattern adds some hand friction. None of it is sharp. However, during extreme prolonged use, there are a few blunt areas near the flipper and the front of the handle that may wear on the fingers. Let's go to another one.
How about the Quartermaster Strickland?
Okay, just kidding. Let's see, any others? Okay, we're done here. The TC4 is actually a very fine, well-made knife. I had no idea it would be this light. I really see no reason why it wouldn't make a fine everyday carry knife for people who carry knockoffs. Okay, or even real knives. It fits all of my requirements for everyday carry knives, like being purple, being under 4 ounces, being purple, larger than a 3-inch cutting edge, being purple, deploys and closes easily, also it's purple. With knives that are as open as this, I'd think twice about putting things like keys in the same pockets. I have dinged up blades on some of my open back knives when I carry change or metallic things in my pocket, and there's a lot of room for stuff to wedge within the webbing. If you like this review, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel even if you think my taste in knives is questionable. Like subscriber Cave Dog. I mean, he's right, it is questionable. Did I say comment? Thanks for watching. Oh, and yeah, GearBest provided this purple knife for review.